got a brain, finally.
That's
what I was doing. I was like, you want the brain? Just like brain, give it up.
Are you singing?
No, I don't know what I'm saying.
I have no like waiting for the final crash down. Get some more caffeine. Ready to go?
Yeah, go to the gym.
So thank you for coming to this lovely ASKe session. So we've got a combination of people in this room right now. Most of the people in this room right now fit in one category or another. One category would be current PhD students who are taking the EDG 6362 very descriptively named Instructional Systems Research Seminar. Those of you who fit that category, raise your hand. Okay. Some of you are our brand new EDD students who got oriented yesterday and who will be taking that same course this summer. Those of you who fit that category, please raise your hands. Welcome. And we also have some interlopers, but very welcome interlopers. So if you're somebody who doesn't fit either category, raise your hand. Let's see what we have here. Let's welcome them. We've got a collection of other people, which is wonderful. Just to let you know, this session, I asked specifically to have this session because I wanted to have the opportunity to unite those two groups and anybody else who wanted to come. And I thought it would be particularly fun to bring together the PhD students and the EDD students. And the class that I'm teaching and will be teaching seemed like a good reason as any to get everyone together. So what we're going to do in here, my current class of students has been helping me figure out what we should do, and they have planned this session today, and they are going to actually lead most of this session. I'm just going to get it kicked off. So we're going to start with an icebreaker activity. It's one that I just learned in a session on social networking, and it's all about getting people up and scrambled around and helping to build their networks. And I thought that was a particularly apt thing to do in a moment like this when I've got two groups of people as well as some other folks around, who I wanted to get network together, start those relationships. Then I was asking the PhD students in my class what to do, and said, well, maybe there are some tips or tricks we could share about being doctoral students. And then as they started talking about those ideas, they actually said, well, I want to see all of those tips and tricks too. So we're doing them smackdown style, which means that the rules for that are that everybody who is participating, I think it's 8 people in all, we're given 2 minutes and 4 slides. For some people, This was a really big constraint. But we're going to see how that goes. And they're going to give you their best tips, talk about their experiences as doctoral students, and get you into all that. Then we're going to go into a roundtable-ish kind of thing, because we don't have actual roundtables in this room. So we actually, yesterday, I thought we were going to be up in Morgan at first, so I had this up here as rectangular table, because they're rectangular tables. I wasn't feeling creative enough today to figure out like these like desky tables or whatever we were going to call it here. But it will be the round table format, and we have some topics that will be posted by those PhD students. So you'll find out what the topics are, and you can come cluster around and engage in conversation with other people on those topics. And for those topics, we have chosen ones that are related to our field that represent the kinds of things that we have been talking about in class. Anytime we have at the end, we can do for Q&A and further networking. Any questions before we begin? Okay, you're gonna have to get up and move around now, so just be prepared for that. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do the social network engine icebreaker. We're gonna start out here and think, and I'm going to give you a moment to think. So what I want you to think about, education is a topic that unites all of us. When I say education, I don't necessarily mean K-12 education, I mean throughout all of the kinds of education that we do. So take a moment, just think to yourself, what are the greatest challenges that you see? How does instructional design, the other thing that really, really unites us, relate to those challenges? And why are you here? Why are you here at FSU thinking about education, its challenges, and instructional design? So just take a moment for that. Thinking right now. That's why it's so quiet. Everybody has well-oiled mechanisms in their head, so it's not thinking while they think. But we're thinking about the greatest challenges we see in education, how instructional design relates to those challenges, and why we're here at FSU thinking about these things. We're going to do something with that in a second. So think to yourself. And get ready. Is everybody else ready to move? Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is get up and we're going to form groups. 3 to 4 people is a good amount. More than that, and we got too much going on there. So get up, form a group, and I want you to introduce yourself to your group, and then, not the 10-minute spiel, the little micro spiel, and then share what you thought of as your challenges and how, I forgot to change that, I'm sorry. This is called Vanessa Works at Midnight and is very, very tired. It should be instructional design, not social media. Oh well. Because maybe that's where I got it from. Because that kind of do that stuff myself. Whoopsie. If you want to talk social media, you may. But I'm hoping that you're going to talk about how instructional design relates. So get up, go talk to your 3 to 4 people.
I know all these people.
Yeah.
Y'all are supposed to stand up. Stand up.
Yeah, don't
Yeah, the simple reason.
To get up and switch to another group. And no super groups, small groups, 3 to 4 people, no super walk around the room and hear all of the conversations that are happening as you move from one group of people. And I have to comment on what has happened here, because watching it, the first time you got up, a lot of you got into bigger clusters. You kept a friend with you. This is how the social network engine works, right? We're more comfortable with a friend. We're more comfortable maybe going into a larger group. We're more comfortable staying geographically in the room.
Yeah.
Where we're at. You know, if all else fails, you kind of look at the person next to you and go, I'm here, you're here, and we can be partners. So the second time you get up to move around, you're starting to see some of the walking by people, and you're like, not you. Going around the whole room, and it gets a lot more mixed up when that happens. And that's how we build our social networks. The other way that we build our social networks, and I started to hear some of this as I walked around the room too, I started to hear some connection making. In fact, I didn't stay long enough to listen to the rest of what was said, but I heard Lee back here saying, there's somebody in the master's program who started at the same time as me, and I didn't wait to figure out who it was. But she was clearly making a connection for somebody else between different people. And that's what we're going to quickly do next, to the extent that it is possible. But mostly I want to show you the kinds of connections that I want you to be doing here at the ASKe conference for the rest of the day, because this is what it's all about. So Carrie and I have both been trying to think of connections that we could make. And so I would like to get Melissa. Where are you, Melissa? Okay, Melissa is back here. And I am going to introduce Melissa to Ray up here. The reason, yes, really? Oh, you met. Okay, well, sometimes that happens in our networks where we're like, I've got people who should meet each other, and they met. But I wanted to introduce the two of you specifically because you both are working in a similar area right now, because Melissa is at St. Leo University and she's working with faculty and getting courses online and all of that. And Ray has been working at the Office of Distance Learning here at FSU under Carrie Berner to help faculty get courses online, and I bet you two have a lot to talk about. Now, Carrie Berner is going to make
So I'm going to introduce Anastasia and Jenny, who both have classroom, K-12 classroom experience, different levels, and not only that, but developing curriculum, and have both then moved into the ISLT field. It's getting the teacher ed stuff or the content area stuff. So I'm going to introduce the two of you.
Now, I'm going to move us on to the next portion of what we're doing in the interest of time, but I'm hoping that as the day continues on, you'll keep thinking about that, and you'll go introduce people and keep bumping it on down the line and introduce more people, because we are a pretty big ISLT family, and sometimes when we have these face-to-face get-togethers, we have people who know each other. In fact, I'm just kind of connecting up as I'm getting more caffeine in my system. Do you all know each other from an online class? No, we met this morning. Oh, you met this morning? Okay. Because I realized it's entirely possible that you were in an online class, that Ray was TA, and that there was but sometimes we don't even know until we get into that face-to-face setting that, oh, wait, you're that person for all this time. So let's keep going and making those connections. All right, so everybody grab a seat, and we're going to do our grad school tip smackdown right now. My role in this is the timer. Okay, so our first person is going to be Jeff Phillips. Yeah!
Right?
I've got a timer for you.
Oh, good. I had my phone on here.
Is the clicker turned on? You can pass the clicker.
It works.
We tested it.
Here you go. Clicker works.
Clicker works. I'm just going to switch buttons. And go. Hi. I'm going to talk to you about being a good online learner, which is a super compliment since this is like the ultimate expert in online teaching and learning. First things, where do you go? If you're an online learner, if you're not familiar with Canvas, you can get to it directly from Canvas. my.fsu.edu. That's where you'll be doing all your courses. So if you're new to all this, there's one way where you can go through my.fsu that takes forever. This is a fast way. Also, webmail.fsu.edu. In addition to helping you, check your email, it also has a cloud for you to store things. So I think you get like 5 terabytes of stuff. So if you're jumping around from computer to computer, you can put your files on there and work from anywhere. And you get to download Office 365 for free. You get 5 free copies of Office. So don't buy Office as a student, you get that. Canvas dashboard. When you first see Canvas, it looks like this. You can change the colors of these things. So you can recognize your classes, you can change the names, and you can drag and drop them around if you want certain classes up front. So that'll just make it a little more convenient. Being a good student. The thing I can stress the most, continuously check the modules. You might read it at the beginning of the week and be like, okay, I got everything I need. No, check it every few days at least. It'll have your readings, it'll let you know. The big thing about being an online student is the discussion board. And I think a lot of us don't realize why we're on the discussion board. It's not just read and respond and have like some real long, boring sounding thing. It's to communicate with your peers. I think a great way to do that and help each other learn in like an online constructivist fashion is to ask each other questions. So instead of just posting, I read this, here's what it is, say, hey, what do you think about this? It doesn't have to be all academic writing. It can just be very understandable and make sure everyone can contribute to the conversation. Look ahead, use those modules to see what assignments are coming up so you're never behind. And then focus on the objectives. Not as much, oh, I have to do this thing. Think of why. Why are we doing this assignment? What's the point of it? And that'll make you, I think, be a great online learner.
Whoa! That was smooth. That was smooth. Okay. Next up. I've got the timer ready. And go.
Okay, so how many people are involved in or have heard of one of these associations listed here? Raise your hand. Awesome, cool. Okay, so there's tons of different professional associations. If you're not familiar with any of them, I would love to help inform you. I'm not going to go through all of them here. ATD, Association for Talent Development, Performance Improvement, Learning, E-Learning Guild, Project Management, Change Management, the Training, Learning, and Development Community, AERA, I don't remember, Technology, Online Consortium, ACT. So, a bunch of different associations. I highly, highly recommend looking at getting involved in some if you are not already. If you want to know more about some of them, I'm not an expert in all of them. I'm very, very familiar with ATD, and I'm becoming more familiar with other ones. So, staying connected, networking. So, bullet points here. Okay. So, joining professional associations, highly, highly recommended. There's usually national chapters, then there's usually local chapters as well. Attending conferences, again, there's usually local and there's national. There's usually student rates, so being a student, you get really, really great perks. Highly recommend it. So, for example, I'll have to say, like ATV this year is in Washington, D.C. Oprah is the keynote speaker. It's in May. Super excited. Joining Facebook and LinkedIn groups. So there's lots of talent development groups on Facebook and LinkedIn, and probably tons others that I'm not even familiar with. Getting involved on Twitter, I mentioned yesterday briefly. There's some Twitter chats that I'm starting to learn more about. Focus on learning, e-learning, that's more HR related. But those are, it's like an hour, 1 day per week or 1 day per month where a bunch of people get on involved, the same hashtag questions are posed, people talk back and forth, great for networking. Asking questions, so if you aren't where you want to go and where you want to be, asking people that you connect with on LinkedIn, trying to talk to them, see how they got to where they are. Okay, I got 2 seconds. And networking is key, so.
All right. Next up, Renata. I keep thinking, y'all didn't have to talk so fast. You could have just said very little in 2 minutes. You could just get up and say,
It's a
good
smackdown.
morning.
Yes.
Yeah. But it just goes to show how when you say you have 2 minutes, we all think, how much can I cram in? Okay, are you ready, Renata? Go.
So I'm going to talk about how to find free images and free vectors to use in your work. So not free, you have to pay, but every week we post one image and one vector for free, so you can download every week. You don't get to choose pictures, they cover. And the good thing about Pixabay is that you don't have to credit the authors. The bad thing is that everybody can post, so you are more likely to find amateur pictures. And Shutterstock is the one who has the biggest stock. All the pictures are professional, but again, it's only one free per week. And next, how to find free fonts. I use thatfont.com to use free fonts, and this site is very good to find fonts to use for cover page or title, because you can select a theme, put your text here, and get a preview how it's gonna look like. And for body of text, this site's not good, so I use Google Fonts, so you can find very famous and very good fonts here. And even though you don't know which fonts to select, these are my suggestions. So instead of using the same area, you can use those. Instead of using the same time theorem, you can use those. If you don't have, you can talk to me. I have all these ones. I will be glad to share. And one thing that I like is to use different fonts for titles because they enhance your slides. So here I have a head font. This is impactful. And here I have a very light font. I forgot the name. But even though they are two different, and on one side you have a very strong slide, and the other you have a clean and moderate slide, just by changing the title font.
That was good. Really, really good. Okay, so next up, over. Okay, ready?
Yes.
Go.
First things first, my name is Mr. Omar, not Miss Omar. Please do not. It is my confusion. I always confuse Mr. and Miss. So, my point is time management, focus, and productivity. So, in research seminar, we talked about the Pomodoro technique. It is used to improve focus and productivity. And Pomodoro means tomato in Italian. So it is basically about working for 25 minutes and then taking 5 minutes break. So I found a digital version called as mytomatoes.com. So you basically register by username and password, then start Tomato. It counts down for 25 minutes. And you can take notes about your accomplishments. Yes, I have used mytomatoes.com for this slide. And you can take 5 minutes break. You can take longer breaks as well. After 5 minutes break, you need to keep and repeat. That's all.
Ready, Dawn?
I'm ready. Who is tired of printing journal articles to read all the time? I have a solution that's better than paper. Unfortunately, it's only available on Apple iPad, but who has an Apple iPad? Yes. I highly recommend you getting one because there are so many great resources. So if you're considering a computer or an Apple iPad, get an Apple iPad. My recommendation. But there's a super cool app out there called Liquid Text. They claim it's better than paper. You can read and highlight all journal articles, PDFs, texts, documents, whatever you have, annotate directly on them, group together multiple pieces. So if you're reading a whole 5 sections of journals for a class activity or you're doing a literature review, you can group them all together and work on them at the same time. You can take all the notes you want. They give you unlimited note space. And what's really cool is you can make connections between the text and the notes. And you can organize all your quotes and citations that you may be wanting to use in your articles or your writing. So there's a quick video that kind of shows what it looks like, and the internet may take my time. There it goes. Hey. So when you actually look at the app, it works really great with an Apple Pencil, which if you ever see me in classes is what I use all the time to take all my notes. You have your articles on the left-hand side, and then you draw and make connections through everything.
What's really cool is when you click on any connection, it shows you what that connection was that you made and takes you right back to it. So you can also take out snippets. So if you have graphs and tables, you can copy those over to your note board, which is on the right-hand side. So as you can see, she's taking two pieces and making it a connection. You can also squish together pieces. So if you want to go back to a certain page and look at something, it allows you to do that. Here's a picture of, yeah, this is what I did. It looks like crazy, but this was my literature review I did for a class last semester with Dr. Shute. You can see on the left-hand side, these are documents I grouped together I was reading. You can look at up to 3 articles at the exact same time, so you can make connections. And then you can do all this out here. There's more, but you can skip ahead.
Highlight and annotate. Unlimited space for quotes and notes. Oh, Mendeley man.
I'm gonna be non-biased.
He did say this, and I watched that cringe about getting the apple.
I know, he doesn't like me.
Shout out to all the Surface Pro people in
Yes. See, we're balanced here. We do an apple, we do a Surface Pro.
All right. So my discussion is titled under Organizing Your Resources, specifically looking at citation management, what, where, and why. So basically, this is an application that supports file management, quick references, and in-text citations, bibliography pages, and more. And there are several applications out there. I prefer one, but I'm going to be non-biased. There's one that I like, there's one that I prefer. All right. So those of you that, I think everybody in this room has heard Jeff speak about the library database. So this is the home page, right? And on the home page, there is a citation management button. Here it is in large. And I believe this PowerPoint will be sent out through Canvas or somewhere. This is a link that will take you to the page that has all of these sources, or at least except for of all these sources. So again, being non-biased, I just want that's the largest. So why do you need this? As a doctoral student, we read a lot of literature, all right? If you've taken Dr. Dennis' class alone, you're probably gonna have at least 1,000 journal articles. But they're all quality articles, right? Quality articles.
Nobody reads crap in my class.
But how do you organize all of that? How are you going to deal with all of that? Without a citation management application, this is what your life is going to be like, all right? That's going to be you. And so I'll end with this, that this was me last spring, and I want to send a shout out to both Jeff and Dr. Sermon back there who put me up on Mendeley, and now my life is I'm free selling right now. Thank you very much.
It's a 2-minute challenge. So I'm just going to share my first year experience here at FSU ISLT and why we love this program. So we have learned instruction design and learning technologies from many courses, and we learn from Ghanaians and ADDIE models and learning technologies we involve in research projects, learn how to design games and learning supports. And I just went to ARA, that's one of the conference Gary mentioned, and I found that we learned at the forefront. Because ARA is the biggest and huge conference in education, and I can engage in those topics and understand those because I learned from ISLT FSU, so I think it's quite a good program. And this program is so special because I learned from Dr. Klein. She said we have a lot of alumni, so we have alumni to support. So I also engaged in a mentor and mentee program, and I learned a lot from them. So if you have any questions, you can just learn from your mentor, and they will provide you a lot of good tips. And what I like about ISLT is that they respond to your email very quickly, and they're very responsive. So if you have any questions, just shoot them an email, and you will get your answer very quickly. And we also have gathering with alumni. We exchange ideas, and we share about information in the field, and that is very awesome.
Chipu has been very enterprising as a first-year PhD student here. He's actually a great person to have in your network to find out how you find out about all sorts of things, because he didn't just go to AERA. He's been telling me he's got all of these things lined up with different professional organizations, and he knows how to tap into all of the resources and get to participate in the special groups and stuff. So he's a man with a plan, and he is clearly building a network. So he's somebody worth asking about this stuff. You can use this, or you can use this.
Okay, so I get to piggyback some of what Omar shared. I am a PhD student, but I also work full-time outside of my academic life, and I'm also a mother and a wife. And shortly after starting my job, starting my program here, I had a significant job change that required me to commute to Gainesville every week. So I have some tips. Oops. I have a few tips to share. So basically, in 2 minutes, I broke it down into 3 things. The first thing you're going to want to do is to prioritize. You're going to have to figure out what is most important to you, and more importantly, what are you going to say no to, and what are you going to step back from. So there were some things that I decided I would live without so that I would have time to do my work. And so you have to look at that and really set those priorities and stick to them and be very disciplined about that. You also have to plan. I use pockets of time, so transition times. If I'm riding in a car or sitting in a line, those are all great opportunities to use that Pomodoro technique that Omar talked about to get some things done. Also, everyone has peak times of productivity. For me, it's in the morning. I am not very good at writing late at night. I've only had to do that one time. There is a lot of reading. Also slice and dice. So what I do is at the beginning of the week, I do this on Sunday night. My daughter's really into planning with an agenda and all of that. So we do this together. And I look at all of my assignments. I look at what I have going on at work. And I divide it up to fit into those pockets of time so that I can use that time most effectively. So divide up your assignments, your big projects, and fit those into your schedule. And that comes to protect. You have to protect your time. I use calendar blocking. So I block off time, and that is when I am working on my schoolwork. I do the same thing in my professional life as well. But at home, because I'm a mom and a wife, I have to really be protected. So these are some tools, some apps that can help you. I use a combination of paper and electronic stuff. So.
And you will find that this is something we continuously talk about around here. What system do we all use? I'm a bullet journaler. I love it. To make it more fun, I carry around my stickers and my markers all the time. Yes. And so I'm happy to talk with any of you about that. But that's another thing you can ask people as you network around today is, what system are you using and how is it working for you? Until you find your own that works. Feel a little, yeah, you gotta have a system. And the system changes sometimes too. Like what works for years then suddenly might stop working for you. Absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna transition now. Let me get the lights fully back up. We're gonna transition into the roundtable part of our day. I think that our streaming session is about to end because they need to move the equipment elsewhere. But thank you everybody who's joined us that way. We can share the slides from the tips and tricks because there are a lot of good resources on there. I'd love to find a way to share them where we have a forum attached to them so that other people could jump in and discuss and share some of their own tips and tricks because I know there are so many of them out there. I love getting those resources.
We should do a Reddit.
We're not going on to Reddit. Okay, so what we'll do now is roundtables, and I have some folks who are ready